Hi, I'm Kandia with Kandia Haynesworth Designs, and thank you so much for joining in on part 2 of this series. This series is called The Seat, which is sewing, embroidery, and tutorials. And I am super excited because this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, to add embroidery and sewing all together and make it a learning process for everyone in this industry. And this part that you are watching is part 2 of the first show. We are doing a 3-piece baby bib gift set. It is an actual order, and we are doing the embroidery portion. This is an In The Hoop Bib purchased from digistitches.com. I have done a review on this so many times, and I will post the link below for those of you who are new to this kind of embroidery. And so what happens is the entire item is made inside of the hoop with very little sewing, and the sewing that you would have to do is for the closing of the item when you are turning it inside out. And I absolutely love this type of embroidery. So we are adding a ruffled trim, and in the first segment I showed you all how to make this adorable ruffle trim, and we are going to be adding it to the In The Hoop. Now when you remove your hoop from the embroidery machine, you want to remove it on the third step after it is complete. So it is not going to be completed entirely in the hoop when you are adding this ruffle trim. So for this, you want to remove it after the third step is complete, and I will actually do a tutorial not attached to this, but a tutorial on In The Hoop Bib, so you can see the whole process and how it's done, and you will understand more when I tell you to take it off on the third step. So let's get started. Here's what you're going to need to add this trim. You're going to need your trim, and you see I still have it mounted to the yardstick. You're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need tape and pins, okay, because you will need to have pins assist you. You cannot use your clips in this portion of this tutorial. So once again, when you carefully remove your hoop, you want to take it off the embroidery machine nice and carefully so it does not disengage and it will leave you with an incomplete project. Let's get started. So when you begin to remove your trim from your yardstick, you want to literally just lift and pull off and then clip your clip back into place, okay? Because you really want to kind of keep your ruffle. If not, it might unravel, okay? And so I'm just kind of lifting and then applying that clip right back onto the ruffle. And so you can see how the ruffle remained in the part where I have the clips is still formed, whereas when I took it off the first, you see how it kind of got flattened out, but the string is still attached. So with one clip still being here, all I have to do is just make sure that this part gets ruffled back, and I'm just going to just kind of form it in that little ruffle, just gathering it just some like so, without, you know, making it too short, because I want to make sure that we still are within. So I'm going to take this area right here and I'm going to apply it to the bib. Okay, so before you pin it down, before you tape it down, I suggest you just kind of lay your trim onto the outline of the In The Hoop Bib where it will be tacked down at, okay? And this will give you an idea if your trim is in fact too long, if it's too short, and if you need to play with it a little bit to extend the gathering, just to make sure that you have a nice fit. Now, I want you to direct your attention to around here and then up here, okay, because this is where the closures will be. All right, I did keep the trim away from there on purpose, and the reason being is because, remember, this is going to be closed, and I generally like to put a clip or something in this area, so I don't want the ruffle to be blocking me when I do that, because it will extend past the closing part of it as well. Okay, so I do like the idea of the way this is laying out, and I'm going to remove the clips one by one as I am taping the portions down. But you see how this is a zigzag here? All the way around. We don't want the zigzag to be on the outline of the embroidery hoop. That's going to be actually just past its some. So the only thing that's going to be inside of the bib is the actual ruffle. Okay, so I have a really close look up on how you are going to pin this down, okay? Because this is actually a two-part process and we're just doing the first part. So when you take your clip off, right, you want to pay attention to where your stitch line is going to be. You want to make sure that that zigzag is just past that stitch line, okay? And then you want to take your pins and then pin in the ruffle in the inside of the bib like so, okay? And then you want to just make sure that it's really pinned down good. Lift up just to make sure that you are not on that stitch line, that your zigzag line is not on the stitch line. And then if you could either pin in place or you can actually tape it. This is actually outside of that line and I don't have to worry about it gumming up. So I'm going to be placing a piece of tape actually on that zigzag line, because that's the area that's going to be trimmed away anyways. So if this area has gum on it, adhesive, it doesn't matter because it's going to be trimmed away, you know, after the hoop is actually, the bib is completed inside of the hoop. So I'm just going to complete pinning it in the inside all the way around to make sure that it's nicely tacked down. Okay, so this is nicely tacked down with all the pins, okay, and I can actually lift it and it will not move at all. I want you to direct your attention again where the closures is going to be. So notice that this part is the opening. So what I want you to do is fold it, okay. So first we are going to clip this just a little bit shorter because we don't really need that pull anymore, but we're going to just kind of give it a finished line. You know what, it would also be a good idea if before you put it on to close this, like make a final seam, but you'll have time to do that simply by just folding it like so, closing it, and then if you fold it twice like that, I don't know, can you see that? Let me just get a little closer on that. And so what's going to happen is it's going to create like a finished look, okay? So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing here. And so it's open like this, right? I just removed the pin from here, and now I'm folding the first frayed edge, and then I'm going to actually fold it again. So you see how it's automatically like finished, and then I'm going to take my pin and just stick it in there again, making sure that I am not on that line and I am away from that line, okay? So then I'm going to actually stick another pin here because this looks like it wanted to move. All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did here. I'm going to do at the top closure. Okay, so I have finished taping the outside, and now that this is nicely tacked down with pins, I'm going to remove the pins and I'm just going to put some tape in the inside. Now this tape doesn't have a lot of adhesive, so before you freak out, you want to make sure that you are not using tape that is very tacky, that is very sticky. This tape does not have a lot of adhesive again, so you want to make sure that you are not using a tape that will ruin your project. Now, the reason why I'm removing the pins, I know some people put pins on their machine. I am not doing so. There is entirely too many pins here, and I just don't trust that it's not going to scratch up my machine, and I don't trust that the needle won't bump into it some way, somehow. And so tape is just the safest way for me not to have a heart attack, because my new machine got scratched up with this project. And I've done this project so many times before, and it works with the tape, especially if you are using an inexpensive tape like this brown tape from the Dollar Tree. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tape on the end of the ruffle like so, and in that area I'm just going to slide those pins out. Okay, and I'm going to do that all the way around until all of the pins are removed, but I'm not taking all the pins out at one time. So in little increments, you want to remove the pins and replace the tape. Remove the pins and replace the tape. Then you'll be ready to take this to the embroidery machine once you put the backing on to it. Okay, so we are at my 10 needle machine. I do have the embroidery frame or the embroidery hoop onto the machine. I wanted you to direct your attention to the last part of the embroidery in the hoop design. And so we are here, okay? So that means that that little bib has that opening, all right? So that's going to let you know that it's going to stitch exactly the way you see it, and it's going to leave an opening for you to turn it right side out. Alright, so as the machine comes to its final stitches, you want to carefully remove the embroidery hoop from the machine, and then we'll take it to the table and trim. So maybe about 50 more stitches to go, and then this design will be complete. Alright, so the machine makes a little chime. At least this one does. My 6 needle don't do this. It just beeps when it's done. So now you just want to carefully remove it from the hoop. Now, at this point, you're done. So if you disengage or dislodge the embroidery hoop, taking it off of the machine, no big deal. Okay, so when you take it off the hoop, it's going to look like this. And if you lift it up, you should be able to see that zigzag stitch. Okay, and that means that that ruffle is nicely secured inside. So once again, this is going to be your opening, so don't worry about that, because remember, we're going to trim all around here, and we're going to turn it right side out. So I will do a full tutorial on how to do this in the hoop bib without the ruffle and the tape and all of that, so you can actually see the beauty of purchasing one of these designs. I'm going to trim this up, turn it right side out, get one of my tags, take it to the machine, stitch it, and then this bib will be complete. Okay, so the bib came out absolutely adorable, and now I'm just going to add my tag in that opening that we use for turning it right side out, which is going to be here, and you have to close it anyway. So, but I like to put my tag behind the ruffle or behind the lace. The only thing is you just have to make sure that you're catching all of the layers, so you're catching the back side of it, and your tag is aligned up with the ruffle and with the closure. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then the next thing I have to do is I have to add the closure, the velcro. And remember, I'm going to be adding a flower here to pretty much take up this opening area right here, and I'll do another tutorial on that, a separate one. But for the most part, I really like the way this came out. And here's the finished product. I am super pleased the way this set came out. Once again, all of the fabrics can be found at Walmart. This is the Waverly Inspiration brand, and they carry them in bulks, and they also carry them in fat quarters. And if you want to learn how to make this adorable fabric flower, the tutorial is below. If you want to learn how to make the ruffle, the tutorial is below, as well as attach the ruffle to the In The Hoop Bib, the tutorial is below. If you want to purchase this In The Hoop Bib, you can find it at digistitches.com, and the font can be found at planetapplique.com. It is called the Lucy font, and this font is called Black Chancery font, found at Jolson's Designs. And this font is also called Hopscotch font, found at Joson's Designs as well. And all these links are going to be posted below. Please join me on Facebook at Embroidery Boss Group, or like this channel. You know what? Come back, give me a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends. And thank you so much for joining in. And guess what? I'll see you next time.